After watching every single episode of Bojack Horseman, I gotta say, he's definitely more man than horse. Not many horses could even dream of getting up to the insanity this one has been up to. So allow me to be your guide on Bojack's pill-popping, booze-guzzling, heroin-sniffing, wild adventure as we cover every single crime this problematic pony has ever committed. And buckle up, because there sure are a lot. Bojack's done some low-down, dirty things in his time, stuff that'll get you kicked out of a confessional. But one of the worst things he's ever done was betraying and abandoning his best friend Herb, only to come back decades later and commit a new offense. So the episode of The Telescope kicks off with a few flashbacks. We get to see Bojack when he was still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed trying to make it in Hollywood. In fact, we get to see the moment Herb gets him a spot on the show that makes him famous.
It's called Horsin' Around.
Well, good luck.
The show's about a horse, and I told those suits that horse is gonna be BJ goddamn Horseman. I said, please, and they said, okay. To be my star?
Seriously?
It doesn't take long before the fame gets to his head and he starts yelling at Herb and the other writers.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
I want you to add a scene showing how I changed my mind about the sweater so the goddamn episode makes sense.
You're doing the scene as written.
What happened to the stories I requested?
They'd kind of grown apart over the years, what with Bojack being himself. But that's when trouble comes. Herb gets outed nationwide for being gay, and the network decides to fire him, meaning he's got one last hope to survive, and that hope is a pretty selfish horse.
You've got my back. If you threaten to walk, they'll listen to you. You know I wouldn't ask if I didn't need it. Come on, Bojack.
You know what? You can count on me, Herb. I mean, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for you.
Bojack reluctantly agrees to side with Herb. He's gonna threaten to leave the network as well if they do anything to him. But that's when network executive Angela Diaz shows up.
But I'll tell you right now, you don't win awards and you don't get to be on the covers of magazines. What's that old expression about how the show must go on? So what do you think, Bojack? That's a courtesy question.
And that's all it took for Bojack to abandon his best friend. The same best friend that got him the job in the first place. So back to the present, Bojack is finally meeting up with Herb again after oh so many years, and, well, things are a lot different than they were back in the 90s.
You don't look so hot yourself, Herb.
I have cancer. Who's this stunning creature? And what string of bad decisions has placed you in Bojack's orbit?
Bojack is clearly racked with guilt, and boy, Herb is gonna milk that guilt for all it's worth.
Because if that knife ain't sharp enough, I got another that you left in my back 20 years ago.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Nope, no, you are not.
Watching Bojack squirm is pretty sweet, not gonna lie. The meeting goes off without a hitch, but just before they leave, Diane tells Bojack that if he has something he wants to say to Herb, this is the time to do it. So Bojack heads back in to give a classic Bojack Horseman apology.
So, you're apologizing?
Yes. I'm sorry. Herb, I said I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I do not forgive you.
This could be the last time that
No. I'm not gonna give you closure.
Herb refuses to forgive him. After all, it wasn't about the job, it's the fact that for 20 years, Bojack never called. He just abandoned him. Bojack's not happy that simply saying sorry didn't fix everything, and tries to take an old telescope that symbolized their friendship. That's when things get violent.
Get off him!
The show was never the same after I left. Admit it!
Bojack, come on.
Wrestling a guy with cancer is not a great look, buddy. I know what you're thinking. Herb attacked him first. And yeah, he did, but Bojack was attempting to steal his property, so yeah, that little bit of wrestling is in fact assault, and he'd be looking at 10 years in prison and a fine of $10,000, especially considering Herb's precarious physical health. We know what Bojack is willing to do to himself and how low he's willing to go. Now let's find out what kind of crimes he's willing to commit when he's jealous. Specifically when he's jealous of Mr. Peanut Butter. Why is he jealous? Well, because Mr. Peanut Butter's dating Diane, and Bojack happens to have a crush on her. Bro even butts in on their romantic night together, but this old dog still has a few tricks to get the girl.
I got you a dependent. Because I'm dependent on you.
This is the sweetest choking hazard anyone's ever given me.
It was cute. But then Bojack decided to upstage Mr. Peanut Butter, and pretty soon it turned into a whole pissing contest.
Everyone, off the menu, of course.
I'd like to buy you all an Xbox.
Look, I could happily go down this petty road of raising and re-raising one another.
Free drinks, free Xboxes, free rides, and Mr. Peanut Butter's new helicopter. They really pull out all the stops here. Diane isn't exactly impressed, but that's not gonna stop Bojack. Heck, even Bojack can't stop Bojack.
I just bought the restaurant and we can stay as long as we want.
After a series of stupid and increasingly petty challenges, Bojack finally wins. But does he though? Because after all that, Mr. Peanut Butter still takes Diane home, since, you know, she's still his girlfriend. So Bojack decides to forget his troubles the only way he knows how.
Bottle of something to help me forget my problems. Oh, maybe not that strong.
The absinthe works pretty dang effectively, because the next day he wakes up with pretty much no memory of the rest of the night. But something tells me Bojack's been busy.
Police are scrambling to figure out who stole the D from the famed Hollywood sign. Who wrote this copy? Randy, looking at you. Weird.
I'm gonna give you 5 guesses as to who stole the Hollywood D. What's that? You already know who's insane enough to steal a priceless landmark?
The hell would I steal a giant D? Damn!
Meanwhile, local authorities are already investigating several suspects.
I wouldn't believe it if the giant D wasn't right there in his pool. Bojack is in no shape to steal something that heavy. I guess absinthe must give him super strength because he left Diane a very peculiar voicemail.
Left me a long drunken voicemail last night.
Ooh, was it bad?
It was mostly a lot of wheezing, as if you were climbing something. You were dragging something heavy at least a few miles.
I didn't say anything incriminating, did I?
So he's stolen the D. Is he gonna put it back? Turn himself in? Or at the very least try and fix the problem himself? No, not when he's got an agent to overwork.
I stole the D.
What?
Now be a good agent and make this not my problem. Look, I need to get rid of this before Diane sees it.
Why do you care if Diane... Oh, fish.
Okay, so he stole the giant D for Diane, but he's not gonna tell Diane that he stole the giant D for her. Instead, he's gonna get rid of it by flying it into the ocean using Mr. Peanut Butter's helicopter, and he's gonna do it right smack dab in the middle of the day. Brilliant idea. But wait, it gets even more brillianter. He's gonna cause a distraction by making everyone riot over money.
Everyone pay attention to me!
Oh, it's only $1 bills, folks.
Dollars are like the new penny.
Yeah, cash is for poor people.
Just riot over the damn money already.
Well, nothing to see here, I guess.
Too bad he cheaped out on the distraction and only tossed ones. Trying to cause a riot is dangerous enough already. Good thing no one got hurt, I guess. Oh, spoke too soon.
American singer-songwriter Beyonce is hurt. Somebody help her.
Beyonce has been injured. What more can you give us?
Details are sketchy at this point. She will keep on surviving. I'm being told she fell on all the single dollars.
Turns out Beyonce getting hurt is a pretty good distraction because everyone's paying too much attention to the coverage to notice the giant D flying across town. Oh, and if you think it's just a sprained ankle, oh no, it's a lot worse than that.
Doctors have confirmed that Beyonce will never perform again.
On top of the charge of grand theft, which is 3 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, he's looking at trespassing, 3 years in prison and $1,000. But that's just for the D. There's trying to incite a riot, which will get him 1 year and $5,000. There's the whole conspiracy to cover up a crime. He's looking at battery and intent to cause a riot. That's all another year and $5,000. Oh, and then we've got the greatest sin of all here, causing Beyonce to break her ankle and ruining her career. That right there counts as assault, and you'd be facing 4 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. That's all a total of 12 years and $31,000. Yeah, it definitely was not worth it. I mean, Diane doesn't even know he stole it. And Mr. Peanut Butter even stole credit for stealing the D.
Just tell us why'd you do it?
I did it all for my girlfriend, Diane.
That literal son of a...
Bojack has done some pretty awful stuff, no doubt, but this one's gotta be in the top 3. So Bojack isn't happy with the way the Secretariat movie is shaping up, so he starts moping around the house and being a generally unpleasant person to be around. His girlfriend Wanda does everything she can to get him out of his slump, but Bojack is allergic to trying to find happiness and ruins this relationship as well.
Was ruined by a network executive like you.
That doesn't give you the right to be to me.
Well then, what are you doing here?
So he abandons Wanda, abandons Todd, abandons the movie he's in the middle of shooting, and runs off to New Mexico. He's looking to rekindle things with his long-lost love, Charlotte, but things aren't going exactly as he expected. She has a family now.
Your mom never mentioned she used to hang out with the Bojack Horseman?
Mom lived in Los Angeles?
Never came up all these years?
It was a long time ago.
Triplets, dial back the boners. What? I can't help it.
Charlotte invites Bojack to stay with her family for a bit, and, well, not the best idea if you ask me, but I guess they're old friends. The rest of the family, especially her daughter Penny, is on to Bojack's schemes.
Well, Charlotte told me if I was ever in New Mexico, I should call her.
But what are you doing in New Mexico? You didn't drive all this way just to see my mom, did you?
No!
He lies to them that he's in landlocked New Mexico for a boat show. Of course, there is no boat show, but he's gonna have to convince them somehow that there is.
What the?
Huh?
Whoa! Woohoo! I'm going on a boat! I got my way!
Where's your car?
I junked it.
Yeah, he buys an entire boat just so he can keep running away from his problems. He stays at Charlotte's house for 2 more months. This horse just won't leave. It's almost like an actual sitcom family. And just like a sitcom, Penny's prom is coming up and the boy she likes did not ask her out. So Bojack comes up with an insane idea. He's going to take Penny to the prom to make the boy jealous. Somehow, they all agreed to it. Penny and her friends are going to go to the prom along with Bojack. Well, Bojack isn't exactly the kind of person you want to trust your kids with.
Wow. Ray Ray and the Bean are already posting pics on Instagram.
What?
Whoa, hold on, responsible adult. Hand it over.
Ugh, fine.
Ugh. Red Bull and vodka? Make a left at the next light.
Where are we going?
I'm getting you kids some bourbon.
That wasn't a joke. He actually buys them bourbon. They sneak it in and he drinks with these kids.
Oh, it burned.
No thanks.
Pussy.
I'm driving.
Well, more for me.
Now see, there are a lot of reasons why you don't give kids alcohol, and now we're about to see one of them. Penny's friend goes a bit too hard on the sauce, and, well, the night kind of spirals from there.
Guys, I think you should come down here.
You just had a little too much to drink. Why don't we just take her back to your place? She can spend the night.
Hey, Maddie. A friend who passed out like this, and she died of alcohol poisoning, man.
Bojack finally does something responsible and actually takes her to the hospital, but hey, don't get too excited. He's still got plenty of time to mess things up.
Okay, so Maddie's gonna be just fine. They'll know what to do here. Pete, you're in charge. Penny and I are gonna take off.
There we go. He's just gonna abandon them there with no adult supervision and run away. Not like he's much adult supervision himself, but anyway. Oh, but first, he's gonna make sure to cover his tracks as hard as he can.
Penny and I left early, and you don't know who gave Maddie the whiskey. Are we clear on this? It's gonna be okay. Where did Maddie get the alcohol from?
I don't know.
And what happened to your friends?
Left early.
And with that, he bolts and does not look back. Well, at least he's gotten Penny home in one piece. What else could go wrong?
This was really special.
I'm glad.
Thanks.
Whoa, Penny, come on.
If you want to do it, I'm ready. I have condoms in my room, and I know how to put one on with my mouth.
Oh, no. I mean, I guess credit to Bojack here. He does the right thing and turns her down. At first. After kissing Charlotte and trying to get her to abandon her family and run away with him, which, might I say, is bonkers, she immediately turned him down and kicked him out, by the way. Bojack does not leave right away, though. He entertains Penny's advances, and guess who's about to pay him a visit?
Charlotte.
Penny, go to your room.
We didn't even do anything.
Now, Penny.
Charlotte, I am so sorry.
Don't you dare.
How could you sink even lower, man? Bojack got off light after all that. I think he deserved an ass kicking or two, but we'll settle for the full force of the law. He's getting charged with supplying alcohol to a minor. That's a year in jail and a $5,000 fine, but that is nothing compared to the 10 years and $250,000 he'll be getting for trying to sleep with a minor. So keep it in your pants for once, Bojack. Frack! Would you believe me if I said Bojack is a selfish horse that doesn't always consider the consequences of his actions on other people? Yes, you've seen this show. Or at the very least, the past like 10 minutes or so of this video. He has screwed up multiple lives, and I'm going to tell you about the time he committed a crime whilst screwing up someone's life. It all started with Bojack trying to play the role of his childhood hero, Secretariat, in an upcoming biopic. They don't want to give him the part since he's almost twice the age of the horse he's trying to play. But then he shows off his acting skills.
Ain't you that horse that won all them races? Can I ask you a question? When you're out there on that there racetrack, what are you running from? Everyone's running from something, sugar.
No, I'm running from nothing. People come up to me, they want my autograph, they want my picture. And I want to be that person that they think I am, but I'm not. They see a greatness in me and they mistake it for goodness, but I know there's nothing there.
If I gotta give the dude one thing, he's a pretty decent actor. Bojack eventually gets the part, and director Kelsey Jennings is here to make the movie of a lifetime. Quick side note, the episode we'll be talking about, The Shot, actually kicks off with Bojack committing a completely different, unrelated crime.
You really shouldn't throw a lit cigarette off the...
He just callously throws the fire hazard into the dry California brush, which is a pretty big deal, and they are sure to drill that point home.
Well, the fire department got everything under control, but the cable's out for the whole neighborhood. I still don't understand what started the fire.
Actual widespread damage, but does he get in trouble for it? Of course not. Which brings us back nicely to the crime we're here for. So Bojack is playing Secretariat, but much like Bojack, Secretariat was a very flawed horse that did some morally bankrupt things, like making a deal with President Nixon to sell out his brother and get him shipped off to Vietnam in his place. Bojack is stoked to play the part, only to find out that it's been cut and replaced with something very, very dumb.
What happened to the house set? The White House set?
Things changed a little.
Did you guys cut the Nixon scene?
It's still all that, except now it happens while you give a Christmas present to your adorable nieces and then they hug you while your butt is stuck in a chimney.
So the Nixon scene's been nixed because a focus group responded poorly to the controversial nature of the thing. Kelsey, clearly not happy with it, just lets it go because, that's show business. They do a new scene, but Bojack will not let it go.
Neat. Let's break for lunch.
Elsie, this is a nightmare. I had to touch 3 children today, and one of them was very sticky.
There's nothing we can do.
No, this isn't you. I've seen everything you've done.
He's got a plan, and it's going to involve the Oval Office set in the Nixon Library down the street.
We don't have an Oval Office set.
There's one at the Nixon Library in Yorba Linda. We can sneak into the library tonight and get the shot, guerrilla style.
First things first, we have a bit of light thievery. He's going to need a replica of the Nixon Library, and he knows just where to get it.
Is that the lighted exit sign from Nixon's boyhood home?
It's an exit sign.
Is that the handicapped drinking fountain? Or is that the smoke alarm?
No.
Don't know how on earth that worked, but it did. So they set up a whole elaborate plan to distract the police while they break into the library very smoothly and very professionally.
Hey.
Now it's time to shoot the scene where Secretariat finds out that his brother, who got shipped to Vietnam, is dead.
You've just been told your brother is dead and that it's your fault. Because this is the moment you realize something inside you is broken.
Beautiful, powerful, moving, great scene that really should still be in the movie. But this is still Bojack Horseman we're watching, and this show doesn't often do happy endings.
Hey, where's Kelsey?
Oh, yeah, funny story. Turns out you two knuckleheads snuck out last night and got that shot I told you not to get for the scene that's not in the movie anymore. So I fired her ass.
She made her choice, I guess. Going along with Bojack's plans can really screw you, and, well, she got screwed. But getting her fired is not the crime here. That'd be the stealing from the library, which is 1 year and $1,000. The breaking and entering, 1 year and $2,500. The conspiracy to break and enter, a year and $5,000. And then the widespread environmental damage from starting a fire with an easy 5 years and $250,000. Oh yeah, and the property damage as a result of the fire. Add another 10 years and $20K. In total for this section, Bojack's looking at 18 years and $278,500, all to shoot a scene that didn't even make it into the movie. Bojack's taken a lot of drugs in his day, it's kind of his thing. But I'm gonna focus on the funniest drug-filled trip Bojack Horseman's ever been on, and it takes place in the episode Downer Ending. Things start off with Diane writing a stellar book about Bojack's life, a book he asked to tell all, including his bad sides, by the way. But then silly Diane goes ahead and makes him sound too relatable and actually mentions his flaws like he asked. Can't do that apparently.
But for Bojack Horseman, they want a heroic horse stud who is awesome.
So wrong.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think that you're so wrong.
Bojack turns into a big baby and won't let them publish the book, but they're out of time. It needs to go to print in 5 days. So he says that he'll write a new book in 5 days, which is nuts. Diane tells him it's a bad idea, and he just blows up on her, trying his best to hit her where it hurts.
I spent as much time with you as you did with me.
Okay, I know you're upset.
I'm not upset. I'm just sick of nerd girls like you beating up on stars like me. But I don't see why I have to suffer just because you were never especially pretty or interesting. I apologize for her outbursts.
What a Of course, he can barely write to save his life. What are the chances he's gonna squeeze out a bestseller by the end of the week? Not to mention the fact that he's really good at procrastinating, and boy does he procrastinate his procrastination. Pretty soon, he's back to solving his problems the Bojack Horseman way.
No, I just need the right music to do drugs to. Work it.
And he's got Sarah Lynn doing drugs with him too. The child actress turned pop sensation who looks up to him as a father figure. Oh, and has a debilitating dependency on drugs.
So I just want to thank you for coming over this time. to give me drugs. These are gonna help me focus and get work done, right?
Oh, yes.
The doctor assures him that these drugs are going to give him the focus he needs to finish up his book lickety-split, but this might not be the most trustworthy medical practitioner out there.
I'm off to perform child heart surgery. Ugh. Wish me luck.
We got a book to write.
But hey, things look like they're gonna go well, I guess. Todd and Sarah Lynn look insanely focused, terrifyingly focused.
Okay, Todd, how is it going with the heartwarming anecdotes? Great. Nice. Can you change best to pretty good? Sarah Lynn, how's it coming with the horsing around here? If only Hulk Hogan could see us now, right?
In 4 hours, they whip out a few hundred pages and are actually on track, but then pretty soon they start discussing how the book should end. They figure it should end with Bojack's death at the hands of the girl he raised on TV, you know, because it'd be super dramatic, and yeah, you can probably already tell where this is going.
Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yeah, gonna get you!
We learned that if we're going to do drugs, we should do them at home where it's safe to do them.
Well, nobody died at least. Yet. They decide to celebrate not killing each other, and of course they do it by taking even more drugs. Copious amounts of drugs. 2 days later, Bojack's in his bedroom looking like something they just dragged out of the toilet, and look who's here to apologize for writing a book he didn't like. Diane.
Your memoir should be a representation of you. It's only fair you're happy with how you're portrayed.
Oh my God, thank you.
This can only mean one thing.
What is happening?
I ate too many pancakes!
Oh, I'm still tripping.
Turns out it hasn't even been 2 days. It's been 2 minutes, and he's tripping way harder than ever before. Then he goes on a whole cerebral mind-bending tour of his inner psyche and regret. It's pretty fun, for me at least. Bojack, not so much. He wakes up in a parking lot and receives a call from Princess Caroline about his book. So what do you get when you're hopped up on every pill imaginable and try to write a book?
Hello?
Bojack, I read the pages you sent me last night, and I have to tell you, your book is absolute gibberish. You got 20 pages of Doctor Who erotic fan fiction, a recipe for soup, and a bunch of embedded YouTube videos that can't possibly be printed in book form.
Gibberish. You shouldn't have expected anything less. Well, this book might have sucked, but the charges are going to suck even more. He's facing drug possession, and considering the size of that haul, he's looking at 20 years in prison and a fine of $1 million. And let's not forget driving under the influence. That car didn't teleport him there after all. So he's looking at 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. At this point, you're probably starting to see just how unhinged this horse really is. We've barely gone halfway, and he's already looking at 72 years in prison and a massive fine of $1,570,500 schmackaroons. Believe me, we're just getting started. We're about to get into some really deranged stuff. By the time the third to last episode rolls around, Bojack had recently relapsed after about a year of being sober. As disappointing as that is, it's just one of the many issues bugging him at the time. His career is in shambles, and he's had to sell his house after getting sued for $100 million. So now he's pretty much homeless and down in the dumps. That's when he gets a call from a ghost in his past, Angela Diaz, chief executive producer of Horsin' Around. She has a little task for him.
Open it. Studio went all out. They even found your original screen test. After your interview, we couldn't give these things away.
Oh, right, sure.
I just feel so bad for Sarah Lynn.
Well, nothing we can do about it now, right?
But she isn't here to horse around. No, she's here for something very serious, actually. Since everybody hates Bojack, the network's gonna re-release the classic sitcom and cut him out of it. So now she wants him to sign away all the rights to profit from the show in exchange for a one-time payment.
I need that money now more than ever.
We want to buy you out. A one-time payment, and then you're divorced from the show forever. Do it for Sarah Lynn. Doesn't she deserve more than to be remembered as the girl you killed?
Heavy. Bojack signs away his rights and they celebrate by getting drunk. Not very sober behavior, but what are you gonna do? That's when Angela lets it slip, or more like she reminds him that it's all his fault his best friend Herb got fired off the show all those years ago.
When were you scared that I'd leave the show?
Oh, Herb was gay and I had to convince you to let us fire him? This whole speech I practiced in the mirror. I was terrified you were going to call my bluff.
Nothing I could have done.
I guess I bluffed good.
He makes a big show about destroying the contract, but he doesn't do it. Of course he doesn't do it. He just slumps back in his chair and drinks some more. By the time he's properly wasted, he decides to take Angela's car and go for a little joyride, only to end up back at his house, except it's not his house anymore.
Come on, open. Stupid.
You'd think he'd get a clue after breaking down the gate, but nah, he just keeps going.
Difficult. Have it your way, door.
After literally breaking down the door, he still doesn't get a clue and proceeds to ransack the house.
This is terrible. Who put pills in my house?
Alcohol, pills, and junk food, the perfect Bojack cocktail. After getting even more high and watching some old horsing around DVDs, he decides to go swimming. More like he almost drowns in the pool, though. The poor family that actually owns his home now gets home in time to save his life, and after all this time, after all the crimes he's committed, Bojack finally finds himself in a prison cell. Now, in the show, they gave him a measly 14 months, but not here. He's looking at burglary, which is 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. At least he finally decided to turn his life around after his near-death experience. By the time the final season rolls around, Bojack decides to finally turn his life around and become sober. Better late than never, but of course he's not going to make it easy for anyone.
You know, just because you clean the tobacco out of your teeth, don't mean it's your wedding day, pardon the expression.
I don't deflect. Hey, is that a new tie? Because I love it.
Especially not his therapy horse, Dr. Champ. And yes, I do mean therapy horse. He's not an actual therapist. He does give some good advice, though.
If you don't want to be here, you don't have to wait until tomorrow. The gate code is 12 for the number of steps.
So the gate code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Is that really what you want?
If the therapy horse is already tired of Bojack's whole unhelpful shtick, I wonder how the rest of the patients are dealing with him around.
As a general rule, if you're checking into rehab more than once, it's just an industry that profits off of repeat customers.
He's being a wet blanket, a very unhelpful wet blanket at that. They'd have him kicked out by now if he wasn't paying $100K every 6 weeks, I reckon. Bojack even commits the cardinal sin among inmates. He snitches.
Still has her friend think her water bottle is filled with vodka every visiting day.
Of course, Jameson's not happy and later shows up to Bojack's room.
I only sneak in vodka because I have to make it through 6 weeks of this.
It's always someone else's fault.
He decides to play therapy horse and tries to help her get through her problems, but here's the problem. He's not a therapist, and he's only half a horse. The other half is depression.
You don't want to be here? The gate code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nobody would notice you're gone until wake up. But is that what you really want?
Yeah, she just breaks out of rehab. I mean, what was he expecting? So Bojack follows her to her boyfriend's house, feeling a sense of regret and trying to look out for her in his own way. But then Jameson gets her heart broken when she gets to her boyfriend's house, and she finds him sucking face with her best friend. Literally.
Jameson's! Okay, it is not what it looks like, I swear. You're still doing it! I told you, things weren't going great. Oh, Dathan touched my boob.
Bojack decides to play therapy horse again because it went so well the last time.
I think that you should come back to Pastiches with me like you promised. But if you want to go to your dad's house, Nell is about to jump naked into the pool, so everyone's going to be distracted, which means this is the perfect time.
And thanks to his fantastic advice, Jameson steals her boyfriend's car and heads back home. At this point, you'd think he'd just call it quits, but no, he painstakingly tracks her down all the way to her house.
Whoa. Is that the car from Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah, my dad loves movie memorabilia. It was his baby.
The home is just filled with priceless movie memorabilia. Jameson tells Bojack how terrible her dad is for throwing out all her stuff to make room for the new baby. And then she tries to smash the priceless car.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Parents are terrible, but destroying things isn't going to change them. All you can change is you.
I may as well go back to rehab.
With that surprisingly profound advice, Jameson doesn't smash the car with the also priceless bat and agrees to go back to rehab. Nice dub. Time to leave, except just as they're about to go, Bojack has a flashback about his terrible dad. So he decides to take out the pain on someone else's possessions.
Screw your dad. Why do you have to be responsible for all the ways he screwed you up?
Jameson jumps in and together they wreck the car Street Fighter style until Bojack takes it a smidge too far. Jameson's dad comes downstairs and he's not even mad. Apparently she sneaks out of rehab all the time. And the baby? The baby is hers. Turns out her dad is a pretty good father, which just makes Bojack wrecking his stuff 2 times worse. And for that, he's getting charged with 3 counts of destruction of property. That's 30 years and $60,000. Should've just stayed in rehab, Bojack. Bojack has done a lot of terrible things, but hey, at least he does most of them to himself, being a destructive douchebag and all that. Except sometimes the people around him don't just suffer emotional damage, it crosses the line to good old-fashioned assault and battery. Where do I even begin? How about with Bojack Bojack's new show, Filbert, and this one, well, it's a little bit kooky to say the least.
Hey, who do you work for?
Well, I sure as hell don't work for tips.
Hey, Fritz, be cool. Everybody cool. We are in a pressurized submarine in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
Now here's where things start to spiral like they tend to do when Bojack's around. He gets jealous that everybody on set loves Mr. Peanut Butter, and he gets extra jealous that Mr. Peanut Butter does all his own stunts. So he comes up with the very dumb idea to copy him.
Said I wanted to do my own stunts too, but little did I know that Flip was writing a new scene where a motorcycle falls off a 5-story building.
Bojack is in no physical, no emotional state either to do a stunt, but eventually the consequences of his actions will catch up with him, and he does the stunt. It does not go very well.
Bojack's hurt real bad.
Ow, I'm in so much pain.
What happened?
He fell off a building is what happened?
Oh, hey, okay, but you're okay, right?
Really bit off more than he could chew there, didn't he? He's hurt, but he's not that hurt. Either way, he starts taking pills, and I mean really throwing them back any chance he gets.
I mean, Filbert,
Don't tell her a thing.
what did you do to your wife? So you took care of it, huh?
I tried to stop it. I think I shot him.
Just to show how dependent he's gotten on these pills, when his sister Hollyhock comes over to visit and flushes them down the drain, Bojack takes them on a whole excursion around town trying to get some more. They end up at his situationship's house to break in and steal some pills.
Well, I'm out of ways.
I'll go around back.
Oh,
Bojack?
oh my God, what happened to book club?
Why are you here?
I just wanted to check on you.
He tricks Gina into believing that he wants to get back together with her, also he can stall her long enough so Hollyhock can raid her medicine cabinet. What a piece of They make their grand escape, but I mean, come on, what are the odds Gina just had painkillers lying around?
What the hell are these? These aren't my pills.
Sorry.
Not your fault, it's just another idea.
Okay.
Ugh.
Do you think Gina needed those?
I'm starting to think his back isn't what's hurting him, or more precisely, what he's hurting for. Bojack wants it so bad, he even takes Hollyhock to a shady drug deal.
It all tracks for me. Here are your drugs.
We got the package.
They're getting away. Go, go, go!
He lifts them up a chain link fence and then scales it himself. So much for his back hurting. Hollyhock isn't super fond of his self-destructive behavior and asks him to drop her off at the airport, but she doesn't just leave him like a good sister. She does the best she can do to help her family.
If you get hurt again and a real doctor prescribes you painkillers, you can take them. You promise?
Yes, I promise.
Okay.
Honestly, it's a good thing she left when she did, because pretty soon Bojack starts experiencing withdrawal and figures the best way to get some more pills and keep his promise to Hollyhock is to get seriously hurt. And how does he do that? Driving straight into traffic ought to get the job done, I guess. Well, it worked. He's hurt. He's got his precious pills back, but now he might be throwing it back even harder than before. Pretty soon the pills really start to mess with him, and reality itself starts to unravel before him. Eventually, Bojack is so up there that he can't even tell the difference between the show Filbert and real life. His emotions are all over the place, which isn't exactly great for Gina. Being his co-star and his girlfriend and trying to take his pills away, she ends up facing the brunt of it.
Give them to me!
Cut! At some point during the scene where he's choking her, he stops acting.
He said cut.
Bojack? Buddy? Okay, that's enough.
What the f is wrong with you?
Bojack lets out his pent-up aggression, and it's not a stretch to say that he almost killed her. Luckily, someone eventually stepped in to save her. Other than the physical damage, now whenever Gina tries to do a stunt scene, this happens.
Ow! What the hell?
Cut! Is everyone okay?
I don't know. Why did you drop me?
Why'd you scream at me? Hey, guys.
I didn't know he was gonna dip me.
Yeah, she's got PTSD. Way to go, Bojack. This whole pill-addled episode is gonna get him a whole bunch of charges. We got burglary for breaking into Gina's house. That's 20 years in prison and $250,000. Then we got attempting to purchase drugs. That's 1 year in prison and $1,000. We got a charge for reckless driving. That's 5 years and $5,000, followed by the charge for driving under the influence, a year in prison and $1,000. Evading arrest is another year and $1,000. Then we got the big one, attempted murder. Those ligature marks on Gina's neck neck, do not scream playful choking. That was attempted murder, and that's 20 years in prison and $25,000. So in total for this section, Bojack's looking at 48 years and $283,000 in fines, all because he failed to get his act together. Remember the time Diane was about to get married to Mr. Peanut Butter and Bojack decided to ruin their wedding plans by setting up a hostage situation? So Bojack hired Diane to write his memoir, and that meant experiencing all of his many, many terrible moments. And over the time, he started developing feelings for her. In fact, it was right after she watched him wrestle a cancer patient that he decided to do something very dumb.
Well, for what it's worth, I think it took a lot of guts to do what you did back there.
Not only is she his employee in the middle of writing his book, she's also already engaged to Mr. Peanut Butter. Way to make it awkward, Bojack, and awkward it is.
See you later.
We're still a few miles.
A walk. It's a beautiful night.
Todd, we gotta stop this wedding. Todd?
So what lesson does Bojack learn from this? Nothing. His immediate move is to try and sabotage the whole frackin' wedding.
And put our own feelings aside and sabotage our friend's engagement.
I got here as soon as I could. What's the emergency?
We gotta figure out a way to stop Diane's wedding.
Bojack makes it look really difficult to not be a bad person. He's clearly into Diane and somehow convinces himself that he's doing the right thing. But wait, maybe there's still hope. Maybe Diane coming over to tell Bojack she won't be interviewing him for the book anymore will change something.
You don't want to interview me anymore? I'll see you around though, right?
Yeah. Why'd you have to make things weird, Bojack?
I made things weird?
She straight up tells him that he made it weird, but does that do anything? No. The next day, he's talking to esteemed character actor Margot Martindale, proposing a harebrained scheme to put an end to Diane's wedding.
I don't know if I'm up for staging a bank robbery, Bojack.
Oh, come on. This is guerrilla theater. No stage, no script, no. Don't tell me we left those dreams in the sweat lodge.
Hell, I'll do it.
A frickin' bank robbery? And of course Margot's down to do it. Fast forward to the next day, and guess who's at the bank that's about to get robbed?
Things good with you?
That's fine, you're in, everybody! Nobody moves, nobody gets shot.
Well, isn't that a pretty ring?
His plan is to show Diane that Mr. Peanut Butter doesn't really care about her. I'm not sure how this fake bank robbery will do that, but okay, let him cook.
I'll take it.
But it's my engagement ring.
Give it to her, Diane. It's just a ring.
If you don't care about the ring, it really makes me wonder if you care about the woman wearing it.
If the ring is just a symbol for love, why would I need a symbol when I have the real thing right here?
Yes. Margot's gonna make Mr. Peanut Butter look bad because he won't throw his life away for a ring. Absolutely insane idea that of course doesn't work. In fact, it backfires.
Why are we even waiting a month to get married? Life is short. We should get married even sooner. We could get married this weekend.
They decided to push the wedding all the way up to that weekend, which considering how their marriage ended, in a divorce that is, turned out to be a bad idea. So how does this whole hostage situation end anyway?
Just happened.
Something truly beautiful.
Oh!
She ends up getting taken to jail, and as usual, Bojack just gets off scot-free, and he keeps trying to wreck the wedding up until the day the actual wedding takes place. It takes Todd, of all people, to finally talk some sense into him.
Look around. This day is not about you, okay? Stop trying to mess with other people's lives.
Truer words. So obviously sabotaging someone's wedding isn't a crime, but faking a bank robbery and holding hostages sure is, though. It might have all been fake, but being a part of a bank robbery with a deadly weapon is 25 years in prison, and holding hostages, well, that's 30 years and a fine of 250 grand. So 55 years. Haha. Bojack, next time just keep your lips to yourself. Now we get to quite possibly the worst thing Bojack Horseman has ever done, and he did it to the one person who actually looked up to him, Sarah Lynn. So Sarah Lynn has a real drug problem. Bojack knows it. She's been fighting it for 9 months, and she's remained sober despite some challenges.
Dance. I like your handsome planter pants. It's okay. Sarah Lynn, you are calm. You are thin. Your skin is murdered baby soft.
Despite the pressures of stardom, she's managed to keep to herself and stay sane and sober. Unfortunately for her, the guy who's really good at ruining people's lives is about to do that to her. See, Bojack's been feeling really sorry for himself after failing to win an Oscar, losing the publicist he was trying to date, and getting yelled at by Todd for being a horrible friend. Cue the cycle of self-destruction, except this time he's gonna bring someone else along with him.
We're so good.
You want a party?
Yes.
Sarah Lynn is down. Way too down. Almost like she's been waiting for that little push to start using again. And Bojack isn't just here to push, he's here to shove, beat, and abuse.
We go on an epic bender.
Yes. Yes, let's get higher than a stilt walker's.
Let's get some booze and drugs.
They get so high that Bojack starts to black out. 31 hours later, he's at an AA meeting with Sarah Lynn, and he doesn't even know how he got there. What he does know, though, is that he's not having a good time. Nobody's stories of their worst moments are riveting enough, so he gets on stage and proudly tells everyone what he did to Charlotte and Penny back in New Mexico.
I tried to sleep with the mom, but she said no. So then I tried to sleep with the daughter. And then the mom walked in on me. See, exit stage right. Oh, God. The worst part is I don't even know what happened after I left. And that's just like one of a billion things that I have going through my head all the time.
Wow. He blacks out again, and when he comes to, he's in his car driving like an absolute maniac.
Seen them cancel an AA meeting because everyone got bummed out before. That Penny chick, then you went on and on about how you're never going to change.
Talked about Penny?
Hey, we've all done shitty stuff before.
Driving at full speed whilst drunk, high, and barely able to remain fully conscious sounds like an insanely stupid idea, but here he is, the king of bad ideas, doing just that. Of course he's gonna hit more than just mailboxes while he's at it.
You know what? This may be the nitrous and bath salts talking. And then let's make some goddamn amends.
See, this is why you don't drive after ingesting every drug in the book. Bojack decides that he's going to take this time to make amends to all the people he's hurt for all the terrible things he's done, starting with Diane. But there's just one problem. She isn't home, and they're getting hungry, so...
Spare key. Here it is.
Yes!
This is another thing I need to make amends for.
They, and by they, I mean mostly Bojack, absolutely empties out their fridge. And since Diane isn't home, they decide to play dress up, and Sarah Lynn pretends to be Diane so Bojack can make amends. If that ain't the healthiest thing you've ever heard...
I'm sorry I said mean things to you.
That's cool, I forgive you.
She's a little more complex than that.
But she's basically Asian Daria, right?
Okay, shut up.
Even his fake apology feels insincere. Like, more insincere than a fake apology. He's just really good at not apologizing. It's really impressive. I mean, look, the actual Diane returns home giving him the perfect time to apologize. So does he?
Should we do something about this?
Hey.
Oh my God, that mirror is talking to us.
You can't stop us! Us from the future!
Oh. Ow! Come on.
He breaks her freshly healed arm. That's like the opposite of apologizing and making amends. So Bojack continues on his never-ending bender for literal weeks. Eventually, they find their way to Ohio, where he tracks down Penny for who knows what reason. He keeps following her despite saying that he doesn't want to. And the stakeout continues until Bojack finally gets caught by Penny.
What are you doing here?
Hey, Penny.
Did you come here to find me? I want to see you at all.
I tried to...
You know, I was 17. I didn't know any.
Bojack, we need to get out of here now.
That was a pretty sobering experience for him. I mean, not literally, he was still high as hell, but at least now he wants to go home. That's when Sarah Lynn stumbles upon the heroin he's been carrying around in his car all this time.
Well, I'll be a dick sucked by a dumb shit. What do we have here?
There's a brand of heroin called Bojack.
Getting a drug named after you is cooler than getting an Oscar.
She obviously immediately wants to do the heroin because of course she does. This will be the perfect time to draw the line and just go home, though.
Put me inside you.
I'm not going to shoot heroin with you, Sarah Lynn.
Oh.
But they take the heroin, get even higher somehow, and at this point, Bojack isn't the only one struggling to stay fully conscious. They end their month-long bender by finally going to the planetarium like Sarah Lynn wanted from the start.
I want to be an architect.
Be a horse in a universe that is billions of years old.
See, Sarah Lynn? We're just tiny specks that will one day be forgotten. The only thing that matters is right now. This moment. Right, Sarah Lynn? Sarah Lynn? Sarah Lynn?
She overdoses and passes out in the planetarium. Bojack spends the next 17 minutes thinking of how to cover his tracks before calling 911, but it was too late. Sarah Lynn dies at the hospital. By the time people start asking questions, he's already got Alive fresh and ready.
She called me. She sounded a little off, and I found her passed out. I called 911 right away, but it was too late. I did everything I could.
Bojack gets away with it again. In fact, the police don't even bother investigating the role he played in her death, but we're not gonna have that. Bojack is looking at 30 counts of driving under the influence, and it certainly should be more, but Sarah Lynn did some of the driving too during their month-long bender, so that's 30 years in prison and $30,000. Don't forget assaulting Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter on the way out, which also caused her to break her arm. That's 8 years in prison and $20,000. Most of the drugs we see them take actually belong to Sarah Lynn, but the heroin that ultimately led to her death was Bojack's, and that's going to get him 2 years and $2,500 in fines. Then there's the destruction of property, which is 10 years and $20,000, but that's not all he destroyed. Bojack also hit someone with his car and just kept going. That's 15 years in prison and $50,000 in fines for the hit and run. And ultimately, for his role in the untimely death of Sarah Lynn, he'll face charges of involuntary manslaughter, which will face him 10 years in prison. And failure to render aid for taking so damn long to call 911 will face him 2 years in federal prison and a fine of $2,500. All in all, Bojack is looking at a very lengthy sentence of 323 years in prison and $2,789,500 in fines. I'm sure the money's no problem for old Bojack, but I don't think horses live up to 300 years. Believe it or not, this isn't even the craziest character we've covered. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Click the link on screen and find out what I'm talking about.